We ought to be going if we're to follow the Queen, she said, looking down at Rob Anybody, who'd been washing his face in a basin made of half a walnut shell. Water dripped off his beard, which he'd plaited up. There were 3 plaits in his long hair now, too. If he turned suddenly, he could probably whip somebody to death. "Ach, weel," he said, "there's a wee matter we got to sort out, Calder." He twiddled the tiny face cloth in his hands. When Rob Anybody twiddled, he was worried. "Yes," said Tiffany. Will you know ha a cup of tea?" said Rob Anybody, and a pixie staggered forward with a big gold cup that once must have been made for a king. Tiffany took it. She was thirsty after all. There was a sigh from the crowd when she sipped the tea. It was actually quite good. "We stole a bag of it from a pedlar who was asleep down by the high road," said Rob Anybody. "Good stuff, eh?" He patted down his hair with his wet hands. Tiffany's cup stopped halfway to her lips. Perhaps the pixies didn't realise how loudly they whispered, because her ear was on a level with a conversation. She's a bit on the big side, no offence to her. Aye, but a Calder has to be big, you can. Have lots of wee babbies. Aye, fair enough. Big women is very well, but if our laddie was to try cuddling this one, he'd have to leave a chalk mark to show where he left off yesterday. And she's a bit young. She needn't have any babbies yet, then. Or maybe not too many at a time, say. No more than 10, maybe. Grivens, lads, what are you talking about? Tis Rob Anybody should choose anyway. You can see the big man's poor wee knees knocking for a hair. Tiffany lived on a farm. Any little beliefs that babies are delivered by storks or found under bushes tend to get sorted out early on if you live on a farm, especially when a cow is having a difficult calving in the middle of the night. And she'd helped with the lambing when small hands could be very useful in difficult cases. She knew all about the bags of red chalk the rams had strapped to their chests, and why you knew later on that the ewes with the red smudges on their backs were going to be mothers in the spring. It's amazing what a child who is quiet and observant can learn, and this includes things people don't think she is old enough to know. Her eye spotted Fionn on the other side of the hall. She was smiling in a worrying way. "What's happening, Rob Anybody?" she said, laying the words down carefully. Well, it's the clan rules, you can," said the Feagle awkwardly. "You being the new Calder, and we're bound to ask you, see? No matter what, we feel we got to ask you. Mutter, mutter, mutter." He stepped back quickly. "I didn't quite catch that," said Tiffany. "We've scrubbed up nice, you can," Rob Anybody said. "Some of the lads actually had a bath in the dew pond. You know 'tis only May, and Big Jan washed under his arms for the first time ever. And Daft Woolly has picked you a bonny bunch of flowers." Daft Woolly stepped forward, swollen with nervous pride, and thrust the aforesaid bouquet into the air. They probably had been nice flowers, but he didn't have much idea of what a bunch was, or how you picked one. Stems and leaves and dropping petals stuck out of his fist in all directions. "Very nice," said Tiffany, taking another sip of the tea. Good, said Rob Anybody, wiping his forehead. "So maybe you'd like to tell us, mutter. "They want to know which one of them you're going to marry," said Fionn loudly. "That's the rules. You have to choose or quit as Calder. You have to choose your man and name the day." "Aye," said Rob Anybody, not meeting Tiffany's eye. Tiffany held the cup perfectly steady, but only because suddenly she couldn't move a muscle. She was thinking, this is not happening to me. I can't, he couldn't, we wouldn't, they're not even, this is ridiculous. Run away. But she was aware of hundreds of nervous faces in the shadows. How you deal with it is going to be important, said her second thoughts. They're all watching you, and Fionn wants to see what you'll do. You really didn't want to dislike a girl 4 feet shorter than you, but you do. "Well, this is very unexpected," she said, forcing herself to smile. "A big honour, of course." Aye, said Rob Anybody, looking at the floor. "And there's so many of you, it'd be so hard to choose," Tiffany went on, still smiling. And a second thought said, he's not happy about it either. "Aye, it will that," said Rob Anybody. "I'd just like to have a little fresh air while I think about it," said Tiffany, and didn't let the smile fade until she was out on the mound again. She crouched down and peered among the primrose leaves. "Toad!" she yelled. The toad crawled out, chewing something. It said. "They want to marry me." What are you eating?" The toad swallowed. "A very undernourished slug," it said. "I said they want to marry me. And, well, just think." "Oh, right, yeah, the height thing," said the toad. "It might not seem much now, but when you're 5'7", he'll still be 6 inches high." "Don't laugh at me, I'm the kelder." "Well, of course, that's the point, isn't it?" said the toad. "As far as they're concerned, there's rules. The new kelder marries the warrior of her choice and settles down and has lots and lots of feagles. It would be a terrible insult to refuse." "I am not going to marry a feagle. I can't have hundreds of babies. Tell me what to do." "Me? Tell the kelder what to do? I wouldn't dare," said the toad. "And I don't like being shouted at. Even toads have their pride, you know." It crawled back into the leaves. Tiffany took a deep breath, ready to shout, and then closed her mouth. The old kelder must have known about this, she thought. So she must have thought I'd be able to deal with it. It's just the rules, and they didn't know what to do about them. None of them wanted to marry a big girl like her, even if none of them would admit it. It was just the rules. There must be a way round it. There had to be. But she had to accept her husband, and she had to name the day. They told her that. She stared at the thorn trees for a moment. She thought. She slid back down the hole. The pixies were waiting nervously, every scarred and bearded face watching hers. "I accept you, Rob Anybody," she said. Rob Anybody's face became a mask of terror. She heard him mutter, "Oh, Cribbins," in a tiny voice. "But of course it's the bride who names the day, isn't it?" said Tiffany cheerfully. "Everyone knows that." "Aye," Rob Anybody quavered. "That's the tradition, right enough." "Then I shall." Tiffany took a deep breath. "At the end of the world is a great big mountain of granite rock, a mile high," she said, "and every year a tiny bird flies all the way to the rock and wipes its beak on it. Well, when the little bird has worn the mountain down to the size of a grain of sand, that's the day I'll marry you, Rob Anybody Feagle." Rob Anybody's terror turned to outright panic, but then he hesitated and very slowly started to grin. "Aye, good idea," he said slowly. "It doesn't do to rush these things." "Absolutely," said Tiffany. "And that gives time to sort out the guest list and all that," the pixie went on. "That's right. Plus there's all that business with the wedding dress and buckets of flowers and all that kind of stuff," said Rob Anybody, looking more cheerful by the second. "That sort of thing can take forever, you ken." "Oh yes," said Tiffany. "But she's really just said no," Fionn burst out. "It'll take millions of years for the bird to—" "She said aye," Rob Anybody shouted. "You all heard her, lads. And she's named the day. That's the rules." "Nae problem about the mountain neither," said Daft Willie, still holding out the flowers. "Just you tell us where it is, and I reckon we could have it doing a lot faster than that wee birdie." "It's got to be the bird," yelled Rob Anybody, desperately. "OK, the wee birdie. No more arguing. Anyone feel like arguing? We'll feel my boot. Sirs, I got a wee laddie to steal back fra the Queen." He drew his sword and waved it in the air. "Who's coming with me?" That seemed to work. The Knack-Mack Feegle liked clear goals. Hundreds of swords and battle axes, and one bunch of battle flowers in the case of Daft Willie, were thrust into the air, and the war cry of the Knack-Mack Feegle echoed around the chamber. The period of time it takes a pixie to go from normal to mad fighting mood is so tiny it can't be measured on the smallest clock. Unfortunately, since the pixies were very individualistic, each one had his own cry, and Tiffany could only make out a few over the din. "They can take our lives, but they can't take our trousers. Bang one saxpants. You'll take the high road, and I'll take your wallet." There can only be 1,000. Ack, stick it up, you krakens. But the voices gradually came together in one roar that shook the walls. Nay king, nay queen, nay laird, nay master, we will nae be fooled again. This died away. A cloud of dust dropped from the roof, and there was silence. Let's gay, cried Grab Anybody. As one feegle, the pixies swarmed down the galleries and across the floor and up the slope to the hole. In a few seconds the chamber was empty, except for the Gonagle and Fian. Where have they gone? Said Tiffany. Ach, they just go, said Fion, shrugging. I'm going to stay here and look after the fire. Someone ought to act like a proper kelder. She glared at Tiffany. I do hope you find a clan for yourself soon, Fion, said Tiffany sweetly. The pixie scowled at her. They'll run around for a while. Maybe stun a few bunnies and fall over a few times, said William. They'll slow down when they find out. They don't ken where they're supposed to do yet. Do they always just run off like this, said Tiffany. Well, Rob Anybody Disney want too much talk about Marion, said William, grinning. Yes, we have a lot in common in that respect, said Tiffany. She pulled herself out of the hole and found the toad waiting for her. I listened in, it said. Well done. Very clever. Very diplomatic. Tiffany looked around. There were a few hours to sunset, but the shadows were already lengthening. We'd better be going, she said, tying on her apron. And you're coming, Toad? Well, I don't know much about how to get into, the Toad began, trying to back away. But toads can't back up easily, and Tiffany grabbed it and put it in her apron pocket. She headed for the mounds and stones. My brother will never grow up, she thought, as she ran across the turf. That's what the old lady said. How does that work? What kind of a place is it where you never grow up?